I am Flip Mostert. I started my career in 1998 at a small insurance brokerage in Fourways. I was actually one of the salespersons that created a source for us through the dealerships around South Africa, and they actually chose us to do business with us because of our service that we gave them. In 2010, I actually left the company. I went to another brokerage in Roodepoort. I was there for about 4 years, and on the 4 years, I was actually the salesperson of the year every year. And I joined up with Old Mutual in 2014, and I am still with Old Mutual. Being with Old Mutual actually opened a lot of things for me. I am a specialist in short term. I started using that expertise that I've got, and hopefully I can continue until retirement with Old Mutual. Being a specialist, I think, comes into experience. I've been in the industry for quite a long time, and I think also that I read a lot on insurance in the industry. Our competitors, I like to know what are they providing to our clients, and also on every single quote that I do for a client, I do a 100% comparison to what they've got and what we're going to offer. If you've been in the insurance industry for so long, I think if you get to a client, there's always a gap, so my main thing is to see what is those gaps, and 100% of the times that's how I actually close a deal. It's because of showing the clients the gaps that he's got in the insurance. I'm also not just a specialist in that field. I also do our co-workers as well. If they come to me with insurance problems, claims problems, then I'll sort it out for them. So I like to read quite a lot on the ombuds cases as well, to make sure that I'm up to date on what's happening in the industry. And I also communicate a lot with my clients, to show them things that they can actually do to prevent losses that they maybe can't afford. So I think being a specialist is going all the way, showing the clients, their shortfalls, and also communicate with them on a regular basis. I think that's quite important, yeah. With load shedding and power surges, that's quite a big problem in the industry at the moment. I think that is something that I always try to assist clients to minimize their risk, because with insurance, unfortunately, there's sometimes that you can lose out if you're not properly insured. So my main thing is to help them to minimize their risk on claims by maybe helping them or assisting them to install the necessary measurements to minimize those gaps, or the things that's happening in the industry, and also gaps, to close those gaps is quite important, because we've got our clients that could take for example, a car from the dealership, and he's not bringing any deposit onto it, and I think a lot of guys don't realize that you have to take out like a top-up insurance or credit life insurance to help you to cover the shortfall on your on the payout that we're going to make, and what you owe the bank. So that's just one example, but I mean in general, it's always it's nice to not just phone the client, but to have him face to face, to see him face to face, and also go through his needs and gaps, and try to help him, to assist him, with closing those gaps and minimizing his risk for future claims. The main thing is to listen to your client, ask the questions, and then also seeing a client. I think it's a good thing to educate them, from start. I've got a process where when I see a new client, I take inventory with me or a program with me, to the client, and obviously the client will have to sit down and he and his wife or his family and establish the value of his, maybe the contents. Building insurance is always to advise them to, not just look at what they can sell the property for, but what it's going to cost us to replace it. So there's a lot of things that we go through on a new client, or if it's maybe a existing client that's got not the proper cover. But I think the best thing is for me is to do the face-to-face thing, to find out what the client actually wants to be insured, and also if we get that need, then make sure that we fully cover, all the aspects, and go through the policy schedule, the quote comprehensively, and make sure that he understands all the, the measures or the terms and conditions of the policy. So if he comes to a claim, that there's no hassles, and that we will pay it out. I've got a few examples actually, but specifically one where I saw a guy that was insured on a personal policy, and being there, seeing what they've been doing, or what he's doing actually, I've noticed that, he's got a business. He's using his vehicles for business use, couriering pipes and stuff to the mines and stuff like that. So I actually rewrote his whole policy. We've separated the personal policy from the business policy, and believe it or not, on the business side, maybe a month or 2 months further on, he had an accident with one of his bakkies, and if he would have been insured on the private policy, he would have had a problem with that. So we paid the premium, or we fixed his vehicle, and everything was fine. But the same client also, with his insurance, he only insured his cars, with that private policy before I spoke to him. So afterwards, we had a personal policy and we had a business policy. The personal policy, we included his contents. And actually, most probably a year later, he had a big storm at his house, and his roof collapsed, and the water went into his house, and we had to replace every single thing in his house. Going back to his previous policy, he only had the vehicles insured, and also it was not correctly insured. Although we paid now a lot of claims, but he was correctly insured on his vehicles, and luckily we included his contents, by giving him the personal policy, and he was sorted. I think that was a good example. Brokers always found insurance policies very difficult, because it feels to them there's a lot of things that need to be done, or maybe they can miss something. My personal opinion would always be to start with it, and when you're when you're in a quote, then read about the terms and conditions of that specific division where you are. Like if it's a house, contents, or building, or whatever, you just go into the policy wording and just read about it. For now, for maybe in the beginning, it will not make sense, but the further you go on, and the more you read about it, the more comfortable you will get. And once you are comfortable going out to a client and knowing what to look for, maybe putting the measures in place, then it becomes very simple. And also, for younger advisors, they tend to not to do any insurance at the beginning of their career, and I think that's one of the mistakes they do, because insurance policies, obviously they will go for whatever pays them the most. But I think if you start building on a book, a short-term book, with the knowledge you pick up over the years, I think then you don't have to rush, because you already have something in place. So for the younger guys, I would say from the beginning, start quoting. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can do it yourself. You can do it through Old Mutual themselves. You can do it through a specialist like myself, and then start building up, getting a book up and ready. And with time, and if you do one quote a week at least, that will start giving you confidence going forward. And I think and also trust. You actually sell a promise, to a client, and if you do that, the client must trust you as well. Being in the industry for a long time, I've built my trust with Old Mutual as well. Dealing with claims, I think Old Mutual is in the industry to not look to see if they can't pay claims. They are in the industry to see if they can pay claims. I've been. I think I do like almost 100 to 150 claims a year on Old Mutual for short term. And since the beginning in 2014, obvious trust is built over time. But I can promise you that Old Mutual will look at to see where they can compensate the client for the loss they've occurred. We look for reasons to pay, and that makes a big difference. The main thing for me is claims. I'm involved with claims 100%. I actually go so far to assist the client with all the things that he must do on the claim, the process. I actually help communicating with Old Mutual on that side. So I basically am the claims handler for the client. Once they have a loss, I don't want the client to suffer any more. After that, I would take that claim out of his hand and make sure that everything gets done. Quotes, panel beaters, assessors to the place, contractors to help the client to sort out the damages. So on the claim side, I'm 100% involved because that's what I'm getting paid for, is to assist the client, on the claim, and also to be happy afterwards. Going directly, I think obvious that industry has opened quite a bit. Having a broker to sort out your claim, I think that's something that is putting in the proof in the pudding, because you would, once you've used a broker, and starting with the policy itself, to structure the policy for you, to make sure there's no gaps where you will not be insured. I think that's the starting point. And then going to a claim. If you're stuck with a claim, who do you ask for advice? You can phone the direct insurer, that's fine. But I mean, if you've got a broker, I'm a cell phone away, or email away. I've had clients that phones me after hours where maybe the other direct insurance will not answer, or maybe so clients phones me like after hours. If the geyser burst like in the middle of the night, they phone me, and then I sort out get a plumber there out and make sure that water, or we can do an emergency fix there until we can repair it the next day. One example for a client I had was we had a lady that her house was flooded, and her husband was overseas, and so I actually drove to her that same night. We got people out there, and we sorted the water out, and obviously the next day we went back and we helped her with all the damages she had. So I think a broker should be your friend. It's like somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can phone, and if you need advice, is you know where to go to. Technology is there. We all have to use it. There's some clients that don't want to use it, but I think going forward, that's one thing that us as a company are also looking very hard into, to make sure because you can get everything on your phone today, and you know, a lot of clients are using it. Younger people and the older people. You know, we always think the old people are not using it, but they are. You know, so I think it's very important for us to keep up to date with technology. You know, the changes that's happening. I think we've created an app on our side that assists clients with emergencies, and they've been using it. You know, and also. So I think it's very important to have technology and to be up to date with it, and also to try to assist your clients to use it, you know, because a lot of clients don't want to use it, but I think eventually that is going to be a big thing going forward, you know, using technology in the industry. Doing comparisons for clients, I think that helps quite a lot to learn about your comparatives, and also I like to look at the ombuds cases. You know, I think that it also helps quite a lot in minimizing the risk on your client side, and then you know, keeping up with going to all the assessments and things that are offered by the company to be updated with changes that happens in the industry, you know, like the grid failure that we've got now, and the power surge and all those things. Yeah, so to make sure that you are updated, you know, before you go see a client. I think my best skill is to listen to people and to look at their circumstances. I think that's my biggest thing that I do. For upcoming brokers, I would say, you know, to keep up with the changes that's happening. Be with a client. You know, that's the main thing. You know, for us to see as much clients as we can, and listen to them, and make sure that you can get their needs. You know, to see what are they needing, and to create you know, a policy for that, or to create a solution for that. I think you know, it's a lot of new brokers are afraid of insurance. I think that you mustn't be afraid. I think you must go for it, and be out there. The more you're in it, you know, the more you're going to get comfortable with it.